Well, as we move on from our numerical operators, the next thing we want to do is start to look at Boolean and logical operators as well as character operators. And these operators return true and false comparisons. So we're dealing with things like and, or not. And you've probably seen those in some of the query wizards. Also, as part of the operators, we have the greater than, the less than, the equal to or less than, and the equal to or just not equal to. So here again, we have some evaluators related to the data, and then we have some comparisons with the and, or, and the not. So let's take a second and see how some of that looks. So here again, we're in our QGIS project, and what we'll do is we'll go to the DB Manager. Again, we're going to start to work out of this. I kind of like working out of that a little more than I like working directly in PGAdmin 4, although there are a lot of benefits to PGAdmin 4. But we can type something like select star from TC parcel where the acres are greater than, or actually let's say greater than 44. So let's find those properties that are greater than. So that was again our condition here that we've created. And we see the conditions here again. So we're looking at greater than and less than and so on. So why don't we just type select star from TC parcel where acres is greater than 44. I'll leave it at that. We'll run that, and again you can see our layer here, so let's update that layer. And now you can see those larger parcels that are greater than 44 acres. And let's update it again where it's greater than 144 acres, so we can see things change a little bit more. So here again you see some changes to our data. So we're using again this equivalency right here, and we've talked about that in terms of the equal to or greater than or less than. Easy enough. We can also make it less than, execute that, and again we can hit our update, and now you see things change a bit more. And I can make it greater than again. Now there's a lot less. We can update it. So you can see much less properties that are greater than 144 acres. We can come in here again and say, let's do the prop class equal to residential. So we'll execute that. And again, there's 24,000 of those. So let's update that. And here you can see the property class equal to residential. We can also change this to commercial. We'll execute that, update our map, and you can see it's much less in terms of commercial. I could say I want to look at it to be not equal to, so I can again use these two brackets so it's not equal. And we'll run that. Now there's 33,000. We can update it. Let's make it equal again and update it. So again, just some different ways of doing this. And then we can put in our exclamation point as another way of doing it as well. So we're going to get the same number as we did before when we used the two greater than less than signs. So those two are equivalent to one another. We can then begin to look at the and the ors as well. And these are important ones because we all often confuse those. Why don't we say where the prop class is equal to commercial and the assessment is greater than 100,000. So we can run that and take a look at our results. And again, I just think it's really cool that we're able to see this data kind of light up so nicely. I'm going to come back in here again. I don't like this color. It's probably a little hard for you guys to see that as you're looking on the screen. So let's make it red. That's going to stand out kind of nice. There we go. So that stands out a little bit better. So here we've got an and. Now if I type OR, so the first query, what it was doing was it's saying, we want to make sure that it is both commercial properties and the assessment's greater than 100,000. Now, in this case, I'm saying OR. So if either one of these are true, then we're going to return a true result. And we'll run this, and now you can see we have a lot more, 26,000, that are selected because a lot of properties are greater than 100,000, even though only a few are equal to commercial. So we can also begin to look at the not as well. So let's go back in and ask a couple of other queries. So one of the things we can do is say where something is or is not null. So sale date is actually one of the records that actually has some null values in it. So this is an example where not all the data is perfect. So you can see that we've got a few nulls that are in here. So I can say, let's select a date or a sale date. Actually, before we even select them, let's say select star from TC parcel where the sale date is not null. So we can execute that. That's done. And let's update that. So these are all the properties that don't have a null sale date. We can then change this where the sale date is null. We'll execute that. You can see there's 18,000. And these are the ones that have a null sale date. So this is an example where maybe you take these records and then we have to start dealing with why these null values are there, and then maybe fill them in with some particular value. But notice all of them are null because that's the question that we asked. To go back to the OR also, we can say something like where prop class is equal to residential or prop class is equal to commercial. So we can sort of string these together. Let's run that. So, and then we can update it. So these become our residential and commercial properties. Here's something you have to be really careful of. Where prop class is equal to residential and prop class is commercial. We'll execute that, and there's nothing. Why? Well, each record can only be residential or commercial or industrial. It can't be both. So by putting the and here, we wind up selecting nothing, because while a property parcel could be residential or it could be commercial, it can't be both residential and commercial. So let's keep that in mind as we start to write these queries, especially when we have a number of different criteria. So let's run that again, and then we can update the data. The next thing we can look at are character operations, and these are string operations that allows us to perform text-based functions like string concatenation, trimming text, case-sensitive conversion, and so on. So these may be something very similar to what you might have seen in Excel, where you're looking at a left or a right-hand concatenation. So let's run this, and here I can say select star from TC parcel where the location or the two leftmost letters of location are equal to BU. And again, if we go in here, we'll have to find that location field. Here it is. And it looks like we have mixed case, so I'm going to just type capital BU. Let's execute that, and what do we get? Let's scroll through. Butternut Drive and Buffalo Road. So let's come back in here and let's update it, and we'll take a look at our map. And these are the different streets that equal that criteria. And you can see, or each of the individual parcels, not the streets, excuse me. And then we come in here. I know this is Buffalo Street right there, and you can see some other properties. So if I click on this one, we can look and see what the location is. Bundy Road, that's the location, so you have that BU. So we can come in here and say BUFF, and again, this is going to fail. Watch. It failed because I'm saying I want the left two most characters. Well, I'm feeding it being equal to BUFF. Well, that's 4. So let's change that to a 4. We'll execute it. And notice all these other streets go away, and what's left are just let's go to it, Buffalo Street. Gotta go and find it. Oh, go back a little bit. Here's Buffalo Street West and Buffalo Street East. And you notice before I had a little bit of a problem where I was struggling with this, where it was BU, the original query. Well, we can say where lower location 4 is equal to BUFF. So we can do that, and that'll get all the Buffalo streets. Oops, 1 second. Oh, let's change that. We were looking at left, but really what we want to do is get the lower location, and then left is equal to BUFF. There we go. So that is getting all of them. And again, we had a mixed case, and you can see there's a capital here for the B, and that's okay. We can also type this, BUFF, and then say upper. So I'm saying find the first 4 strings, convert them to uppercase, and see if they're equal to this uppercase of BUFF. And we scroll through. We can see we've got the actual street. We'll look at a couple of others here. Here we can concatenate some strings together. So we will take the LOC, which you can see is the street number, and we have the location, which is the street name. So we can, let's run that. And you notice we've now concatenated the field together. And one of the things we can do is give it a new field name. So I can say as street address, something like that. There we go. So now I have a column called street address. Another thing I can do is if I don't like using the pipe, and personally for me I don't like using the concat. I like to use the pipes. It just makes it a lot easier. I do pipe, and then I've got my my space that I can put in, and then I can say pipe, and then Ithaca, New York, something like that. Now they're not all Ithaca, New York, but that's okay. I just want to show you the example. It's just really easy to string these together, and you see it's got no column, so I can say as street address. We'll execute that. So now I have my my street names with the numbers associated with the concatenation of the fields, and I've also even concatenated a string in there. Well, I'm going to turn your direction to our the help manual for Postgres, and let you take a look at all the different kinds of string commands. Now here's that concatenation that we showed you before using the pipes. We can grab substrings, and you can see really great examples here. So what happens if I want to find the position in some value? So we'll come back in here and let's just run that. And this is a fun thing too. We can just kind of play with this. So here's an example. They're looking for OM in Thomas, and it gets the 3rd string. So let's select location and the position of BU in that location. Yeah, that's probably fine. Let's just run this real quick. And here you can see there is no BU in Chestnut Street or Seneca Street West or many others. Here's Burns Road, so there's one there as well. Let's look at LL. That's actually a fun one because you've got this Slaterville Road and you've got Bald Hill Road. So let's look at LL. Let's execute that. And as we scroll through, again, there's no double L's in Buffalo Street. But when we come through here, we can see Bald Hill Road. It's the 8th character where we see that. But Hillview Road is the 3rd character. And East Miller winds up being the 8th character in Stream Mill. So this is really kind of cool to be able to kind of walk through all of these. We can look at other kinds of substrings as well. And again, you can see different ways of writing it. So here they're looking at the substring of Thomas from the 2nd letter and then they want to go 3 more letters, so that's the HOM. So you start the second character and go 3. So we can do that with a lot of our other strings as well. Scroll down through, and here's just more string commands. So there's tons and tons of string data that we have here. The other thing I'm going to do really quickly is I can say, let's say select ASMT from TC parcel, and we'll execute that. And you can see that is a numeric field, but I can put my 2 colons here and make that a text, and now it's a text string. And I can say left, let's get the 2 most characters, run that, and you can see I did that. Now let's get rid of this colon colon text and run this, and we get an error. Why? Because that is a double precision value, and unfortunately there isn't a function that can do that, so I have to convert this to text on the fly. So again, more dealing with different types of data types and converting them on the fly. And this case is an example of working with string data or textual data. And if we continue to go down, you can see we can use regular expressions, we can trim the left and the right values, we get different positions again. But in each one of these, there are great examples that we can test out. But as you notice, it just goes on, the types of things that we can do with text data and character data inside of Postgres.